Hey, everybody. I'm Jay Scherr with Jay Scherr Business Consulting. We help entrepreneurs, business owners, and other leaders maximize their potential, build rock solid foundations for their businesses, and create more freedom in their lives. And you've joined Business Minds Coffee Chat. Oprah Winfrey said, "I don't believe anyone on earth has taught me more than Maya Angelou." President Obama said, "Maya Angelou is one of the brightest lights of our time." On today's episode, I'm joined by Maya Angelou's grandson as we talk about his grandmother's life and legacy, the impact she's had on the world, how she inspired us to be our best selves, and more. Please welcome my special guest, Colin Johnson. Colin, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks, Jay. Thank
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. So, Colin, I thought a good starting point for us would be for you to share with our audience what your favorite personality trait is about yourself.
Oh man. I very few people forget meeting me. And I think that my initial way I come off initially to people, I definitely make an impression. I like to bring a lot of energy to my presence and like to be present everywhere I am.
And where did you learn that? Where did you learn to bring that energy and to be, let's say, where your feet are, to be
Yeah,
present in every situation?
absolutely. I mean, and not to be too just directly to the point here, but really my grandmother, when she entered a room, you knew it. There was an energy as she brought with her into the room. There was a confidence in herself, not a superiority, but just a confidence. And there's a calm with that confidence. That you're okay, you know what you're there for, you know what the job is or whatever. Um, I think that making those impressions, those first impressions, are important. And in business, I feel like they have always led me to great things. When I call somebody, like, "Yeah, I met you, remember meeting you at that whatever, fill in the blank." Um, and I have a joke, but I say, "Look, 96% of the people that meet me like me. The other 4%, I don't know what to say." So, you know,
I like that. So I've had the opportunity to be in a room with you before and watch you speak, and I can attest to our audience, and they're going to certainly recognize this during our conversation, that you absolutely bring the energy. You have an amazing gift and way of connecting with people through your words, through your body language, through the the way that you reach out to people. It really is amazing. And when you're with someone like that, you made the point that your grandmother, when she walked into a room, that you could just feel it, right? It's like the lights get brighter. It's so clear that you have been able to capture that, a very similar essence. So I want to start off by sharing that with you because that's coming from personal experience, and I appreciate that about you. So I want to talk about confidence here for a moment. So let's wind the clock back a bit. Did you feel that you always had a certain level of confidence? Was that something that was just part of who you are? Or was confidence something that you had to learn and that you had to really build within yourself?
yeah. I think I had a unique spirit to start off with, but I had some interesting people in my life, my mother and my grandmother specifically. My mom is a hippie and believed in, building the spirit and the confidence that you could do anything. And she was really a big fan when I was a child. And she was not a rule follower either. So she's felt like if you feel convicted around this is not the way things should be, that's okay to feel that way. And so she ratified and solidified my feelings about certain things. And then flash forward, when I get older, one of the things my grandmother said, that she said, "You want to say you're always loved, no matter what room you go into. Know that you are loved. And, that allows you to pop your chest out a little bit. Somebody cares about me. These people in this room don't know me, but I know some people that do know me and they love me. And so I think that I might have come with a little bit of my own flavor to it, but I had some people that were able to open up and allowed me to be me and feel good about being me.
That's fantastic. I mean, what a great way to instill that level of confidence in you as a young child. So you mentioned that your mom is a bit of a or is a hippie, bit of a hippie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you believed, or at least she instilled in you, that you could do anything. So
Correct.
knowing that and having that as conversations that happened when you were a child, what did you see for yourself? What did you want to be or want to become when you were a young child? What did life look like for you?
My mother's joke is that I used to tell her I used to want to be a tycoon, right? And so, my neither of my parents were really, business focused people. They were more artists, more hippies, more, they writers, poets, so forth and so on. And I felt strongly I wanted to be in business, and I think that my mom might have resented her allowing me to have such free thought, because I really picked something completely independent of what my parents would have picked for me. And you know, I was able to make my own choices, and I did.
So tell
Uh,
us about what direction you ended up taking. So obviously
yeah,
you went to college, you earned an undergrad, you earned an MBA.
yeah,
What are you doing today from a career perspective that was
yeah.
really very different from what was instilled upon you by your parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think the foundation of what they instilled in me is there, but like the goal, or they were more outside the system. I went directly in. I went right into college. I'm the first in my entire family to go to college, to graduate with my undergrad degree. First in my family to get an MBA. First in my family to invest in the stock market. First in my family to be in any level of executive level at inside corporate America. My dad worked city government. My mom was a paralegal. And my grandma never really had a traditional job as an older person. She had many jobs when she was younger. And she has numerous, countless honorary doctorates, but I'm the first to graduate four-year college. And I think that my dad and my mom, I grew up going to protests and sit-ins, and really doing a lot of those things that were activism around, improving the human condition. And I saw that I could make a difference, in a different way. I was the first African American in my office in the DC area. And I hired Asian male, Black female, and not because of just their demographic, but because they're highly qualified, and the office needed, some diversity. And so I feel like I fought the battles my own way, that way my heart led me, versus kind of, tear the system down, battle up. And not that there's anything wrong with that. And I'm not hating. I think it takes all our efforts to move the human condition forward.
Absolutely. So your father, Guy, passed away just over a year ago now.
Right.
What was one of the greatest life lessons that you can think of that he gave to you that has stayed with you throughout your life to this point?
Absolutely. I hold this moment up as one of like the best fathering moments I had with him. And basically, I had failed out or asked not to return to college my first time into Morehouse. Okay. He sent me a nice letter and said, maybe take some time off. You didn't really apply yourself. And this is like right out of the gate. And I was on the phone, and I didn't have any place to live, and I didn't have housing, and I'm on the phone to him. I said, Dad, I just want to come home. And he said no. And, um, that forced me to solve the problem, you know? And I stayed in Atlanta. I found a place to live, moved in with my friends, shared a bedroom, ended up going back to college. All of that taught me a vital lesson. And had I gone home, who knows where I would have ended up. But today, I'm a person that, drop me naked in a foreign land and I'll figure it out. I promise you that. So I've recreated myself multiple times and invested everything I had in a couple of and multiple business ideas. And I just believe it's going to work out. I know I can make it work.
Amazing. What a great life lesson to learn. I don't think we see enough of that today. And so thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. So your father was born to your grandmother when your grandmother was relatively young. And I'd like to focus a bit of our conversation on your grandmother's life at an early age, and then we'll move the timeline forward. So your grandmother had a very tough and difficult life as a child. Walk us through a bit of the stories that were shared with you, things that you knew about your grandmother that can help paint the picture of what life was like for her during her early years.
Um, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think that one of the things that I just say just generally is people pick up her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She read the first couple of sentences about her getting on this train and going to live with her grandmother. And like a lot of people retell this story like, oh, it's so amazing that she went to go live with her grandmother. But if you just unpack it and tell it differently, she was being sent away by her mom and her father, you know? And they had chosen that they didn't want to be parents at that time, you know? And for a child, I don't care what the rationale is, that's traumatic, you know? And now she's in the South, where racism I mean, it was present in St. Louis, where she was from and born, but it was really in your face in Stamps, Arkansas. And went to live with a stern woman that she ended up loving. Her grandmother ended up loving deeply, but a woman that really didn't talk a lot, wasn't a very hug and it's okay because she was a tough woman. She's a black woman that an entrepreneur in the South that sold meat patties to warm meat patties to the white warehouse, the manufacturing plant. Then she'd run to the black manufacturing plant and sell the cold ones, and built a store out of that in the middle, and was one of the only black female landowners in Stamps, Arkansas. And so this was a woman that, I mean, I don't know what it took to be that woman in that time, but like that is amazing. And so, but I think there's a lot of heartache, she saw a lot of pain in the South. And I think throughout her life, she had a numerous different heartaches that really led her astray. But I think that it really built on who she became as a person, and built on all that confidence. Like if I survived that, and then I survived that, and then this, and then the list grows and grows. She was able to walk into a room and know that nothing in that room could defeat her, And so I saw my grandma as this amazing activist, amazing woman, but then also as just like a real woman, a person, a human living this experience with some pain. She ended up taking care of her mom in the later years, my great grandmother, when she got sick. And I mean, just imagine that whole roller coaster there, of emotions and relationship, and then to take care of this woman. It's some deep stuff, man. I feel for my grandmother. I'm proud of her, the way she lived her life, and she lived with joy and a big heart, even through all the stuff she went through.
Which is pretty amazing in and of itself. And, what I have found throughout these types of conversations, that we all have a story to tell. We see someone we see what that person tends to curate, the way they show up in the public eye. But when you peel back the layers, we're all human. We go through the human experience, and that experience is ripe with joy, with love, with pain, with adversity, with all types of emotions and challenges that we face. But here's the one thing that we discover, and that's that our story, the past, shapes who we are, but it doesn't define us, right? We all have the ability to write that next chapter, to write a new story and not be stuck with the story that we had. But it's always important to reflect back and know where we came from, the progress that we've made, and use that as a catalyst to accomplish the great things that we're capable of accomplishing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we need reminding of what's possible. On that topic, and I collect these little stories, just small. There's a story about this father-son that did races together, years and years of races, and the son got sick with multiple sclerosis, something where he could not run. And the father put him on his back and did the races with his son, ran for them both. And it's kind of like, man, when you redefine something like that, and you use that as fuel and fire and power and motivation to move forward, that's that human stuff. That's where we become dynamic, amazing, people, right? And we're transforming what would devastate most other people.
That is so true. So I read that your grandmother became, and this was at a young age, became the first Black woman cable car conductor in
Yes.
San Francisco.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
did she talk about that story with you and how that became a
Yeah.
reality?
Well, and I don't know this is fully factual. I actually heard that she actually didn't get the job, but she just showed up and started working, and then they just brought her on. Like she had applied and been denied. That's actually what I heard. But yes, my grandmother, well, at that time she was looking for work and she wanted to work, and her mother, very strong woman, one of the first Black, I don't know if the first Black, one of the first Black longshoremen in San Francisco. And if you ever to see a picture of this woman, Vivian Baxter, she is a small woman, but full of power. I mean, probably one of the most powerhouse women I've ever been in the presence of. She vibrated. And so I think that me raised by a woman like that, I don't think that there's many things that you say you can't do. And so, yeah, she needed a job and wanted that job. And I don't think that she was thinking that she was the first Black woman doing it. She was just thinking about she wanted that job.
And that is just incredible. What
Yeah.
what an amazing history to cull from. And as you said, with her mother, and just the strength of humanity, the strength of will and ability to move through the most difficult of times and yet still persevere, just really is
Yeah.
amazing to think about. So, we talk about stories, we talk about things that happen in our lives that shape who we are, right? But they don't necessarily define us. So, part of your story, which ties to your mother, that ties to your grandmother, is when you were young, you were, I believe, 5 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Your mother had abducted you and you were missing for, I believe it was 4 years based on the research that I did. And share with us what you can about that story. Your mother wrote a book that details this story. So share with us about that
Yeah.
experience and how did that change the relationship that you had with either your parents, with your grandmother? Try to fill us in on what that meant
Yeah.
to you.
I think that I was in a situation that many children of split homes are in, you know. Both sides of my family really disliked each other. You know, I might even use the word hate, you know. There was never any coming together from there. I read my mother's book. I was not old enough to know some of the stories. They divorced when I was 9 months old. I think that parents do a disservice when they pick sides for their kids, you know? And when they decide that another parent's not good for the other, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. It's hard to question what a parent does. She felt like she was protecting me from him. They had a lot of battles. She felt like she was losing custody of me. I think that after that, it made it very complicated. I never felt part of a cohesive family. There was my mom, there was my dad, and never they two to meet. And I remember the first time I saw them in the room together, I want to say it was the birth of my daughter in my early 20s, was the first time I saw them in a room together. They weren't sitting together or talking, but they were in a room. And so I think that that just adds to, it really just adds to, you know, my understanding of how complicated life is. You know, you could have two people that want good things, some maybe making poor choices, and then the what decision that she made then, I'm not sure that she understood the full impact it would have on my life, because it definitely put a wedge between my father and I, probably our entire relationship.
So is there you were obviously young, very young at that point, but is there anything about the experience during those 4 years that you have specific memories of?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was, 4.5 to 9 to about 10. It was about 4.5 years. I mean, interesting enough, it was a really amazing time with my mom. We had a lot of fun, and my name was Luke Clark. And it was a really fun time. I don't think that I fully registered everything that was going on, 4.5 to 9 years old. And, my mom said, we're doing this, and that's mom, right? And so I don't think that I knew enough to question enough that would have made it an issue. I think that it was interesting that I remember my grandmother coming to Austin to pick me up for the first time after 4.5 years. And so she was the one that came out and, I guess did the quote unquote handoff or whatever. And it was interesting time. I think that my grandmother, mine, and my father's and my mother's have been full of a lot of heartache. I like to say about my life, I've had the best of the best in some areas. I mean, like the creme de la creme in some categories, and also some of the most heart-wrenching scenarios possible that people can accept, can survive. So I've had a little bit of both.
So let's talk about the impact that your grandmother has had on not only your life, but on the world. So as you think today about your grandmother, the memories that you have, the legacy that she created, the incredible pieces of work that she was able to generate in her lifetime, what are some of the things that come to mind for you in terms of how she's changed the world, the way that we think about life, the way that we think about ourselves? What are some of the things that come to mind for you?
I would say first and foremost, it's important for people to see that it's possible, right? That somebody has done it, and she rose to such a great level. A woman with no real formal education. From a broken home. From the South. Not educated family. I mean, all of the things you could say that were the hallmarks of a possibly disadvantaged life, you know? And for her to raise the level to be asked by multiple presidents to come and consult and talk, right? And it's not just for young Black women, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. It's for white, Black, Jewish, anybody. There is not a group that can't see this human story and say, if this person could do it, I can do it. And she did it with pride and style and class. And I think that people felt like she brought them with her in every room she went to. And it's a powerful feeling. And I would say also, when she spoke, she had an amazing level of compassion and view into the human condition. When she spoke to people, she was present in that conversation. And she wasn't looking for something. I mean, she would see scenarios happening. She tells a story about a movie set with a very famous person where there's a big argument that blows up, and she just steps in, pulls them to the side, and this person's crying in her arms. And she wasn't there because that person was a celebrity or the scenario. It was a human in trouble, needing support, needing a hug. And I think that she brought that element to all of her interactions and to her work and to her speaking. And she wanted people to know that they were loved and they were thought of and counted for and in the number, as they say. And so I think on those levels, she really impacted humans on an individual kind. We could talk about the various other things she did in the awards and stuff, but I think that she was able to connect with people on a really human level. People saw themselves in her work, in her words, and the way she walked.
Speaking of the awards and all the various accolades, do you feel that those things were important to her? How did she view when she would receive various awards and accolades and
Yeah.
whatnot? What was that experience like?
It was never part of her plan. Like, she never was like, I can't wait to get the whatever award, There were some awards that did tickle her, right? She was recognized by some awards, and she was like, felt really great and amazed about it. The Medal of Freedom from President Obama obviously was amazing, and others. But she never, and I can attest to this, she never did anything for money or recognition. That was like never part of her calculation. She just went out there with her full participation, what she felt like was right. And then this accolades came later. And so she appreciated being appreciated. She believed that people should be appreciated for their work and things like that. So it wasn't that she rejected that recognition. But her drive and her reason for it was not that.
Is there anything that, as you reflect back now after her passing, is there anything that you feel that she did not accomplish that she wanted to accomplish?
Well, I mean, globally, no. I think that she put the foot on the gas pedal and drove that car until the car wasn't going to go anymore, And I think that's what she designed it. That's what she wanted. But one of the things that she did consider when she hit her 80s, got into her 80s, was going to divinity school. And she felt like that was something an area in which she could learn more about the human condition, being a better communicator and supporter of people and humans. She was very deeply connected to her faith, and something that she felt very strongly about. And she felt that divinity school was really something that she could benefit from. So I don't think that she lamented not going to divinity school, or it was something like, man, I can't believe it. But it was something that I think it was one of the very, 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 very few things still on her bucket list. Let's put it that way.
Interesting. Is there anything that you learned about her since her passing that surprised you at all?
Um, I think that what I have appreciated is doing interviews like this and getting questions asked from a context or angle I haven't thought about that subject before, you know. And I can't say that I've been surprised at things that I found. I mean, her life was a very long, her career was a very long career, a very, very long career. And so her work product is a lot. There's a lot. And there's actually stuff that has not even been gone through. All of her papers are in the Schomburg Center in New York, and many of them not digitized or open to the public yet. I am really hoping and looking forward to that next tranche of Maya Angelou research when that paperwork and other things like that is released to the public. Because if you look at like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and others, not just to name those two, but when people have gone back through their actual work product, their letters and everything else, like they're able to put things together, narratives together, really dig into the story, figure out, well, what did happen, and then pull in other resources and information. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that fuller picture of her life and decisions, because right now we have like these big pops, and then she decided to move to West Africa and live with a freedom fighter. Whoa. And then she moved over here and worked with SNCC, and then she worked with, and it's like, there's things that happen between that are also important, you know. So I continue to learn more about her life and looking forward to learning even more once those papers get really started to be really researched and referenced.
That is so beautiful. Well, I know the rest of us look forward to that as well
Yeah.
when all of that is released. So you had the opportunity to travel with your grandmother. You were in the audience, you were with her at many of some of the most significant milestones in her career. What was that experience like as you would travel with her? You're her grandson. Did you let me think of the best way to phrase this question. I think about my grandmother, and all I can think about is the way that she treated me, right? The way that she treated others, the grandmotherly advice that she gave me. When you think
Yeah.
about your grandmother, is that how you see her? Is it difficult to separate the aura around her and all the way the world views Maya Angelou? Is that difficult for you to separate that from grandma or whatever you called
I
her?
mean, she was what she would call on all the time, because people were around, getting her in like when you would just randomly go see my grandmother weekend. It's not like your traditional random just stop in. There might be like five other people staying at the house, maybe 10. And they could be of all different. Well, Janet Jackson could be at the dining room table, like anything, Oprah, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so you're not going to get that private grandma time that you would get in that scenario. And so, I got a lot from traveling from her and seeing her treat people and, and really address everybody by their last name and with respect. She really appreciated both her people, that her fans of hers, her audience. In our early years, I would sit by after she did her speaking engagement. I would stand by the table while she signed hundreds and hundreds of books right there, hours and hours. And she was her respecting that audience. Like, if not for them, she wouldn't be on that stage. And she really just had a deep, love of them and appreciation for their love of her. So I got a lot out of that experience. I will say that, of course, I would have loved a couple of more grandma moments, but I got what I needed. I got what I needed from her. Big time.
What are you most proud of?
And just generally in life,
Generally, could be about your grandmother, could just be about yourself, about life. What are you most proud of?
that's an interesting question. I really like who I am. I have been developed by some very interesting people. my mother, dad, father, and grandmother, lightning rod personalities, very different. And I feel like I absorbed not always all their, some of their bad traits too, I guess. But, I had an interesting upbringing. My mother, white, poor. My dad, upper class, whatever you want to call it. My grandmother, upper class, whatever, a lot of dynamics that are not normal in American society, like the opposite scenario. My mother's also a lesbian. So I have all of these inputs into me around activism, the human condition, how hard life can be as a single woman, single mother. I saw my mother struggle for many, many years and still struggles. And so, I feel like all these experiences have given me this view of the world. I've traveled around the world, been able to be around people around the world, accepting various different walks of life and learn from every experience. So I'm very appreciative. I'm not sure what my proudest thing is. I don't know that I've done my proudest thing yet. I have a lot of work to do in this world. I'm not done.
So to that point, since you brought it up,
Yeah.
what are you focused on now? So as you think about the work not being done, what's important to you to work on for yourself, for whether it's family legacy, whether it's just making greater contributions to the world? What is it for you?
Yeah. I think that I believe fully we need to be a full participant in our lives. And that requires more than just showing up to a 9 to 5 and going home. I think that we should, mentor somebody, be involved in something you care about. There are a number of different initiatives here in DC, and some of my work is around food policy. I'm very, it's a big thing for me. Food equity. I'm a vegan. And so it has been something around really looking at the health of who we are as a people and looking at what we're consuming and putting into our body. I think that my grandmother's work is always going to be something as part of my life. I think that she is a great symbol of who we can be as humans. We can be more loving, more accepting, more open to each other's messages, ideas, thoughts. And we don't have to agree, but we can find a way to listen and hear each other and see each other. I like what my grandmother says, that which, I am human, it really comes from Dante, but I am human, that which is human cannot be foreign to me. And, that is a statement that can bring us together. That's something, understanding the trials and tribulations. So I'm not sure where my road goes right now. I love corporate America. I love my own little businesses. But I do know that my commitment is far higher than that and far bigger than that. And so I continue to be a part of different causes and activities that move me and I feel moved in. DC Central Kitchen is close to my heart here in DC. And they basically train felons in food preparation and give them a certificate that they can cook, they can take out to be employed. So, I volunteer there. I got a volunteering there on 12th of June this month. So, just want to give what I can give. I'm not trying to be my Angelou. I just know that I have a role to play.
Absolutely, as we all do.
Yeah.
So I know you've been asked this before. I'm not going to ask the exact question since the body of work is so large. I'm sure that there are people listening right now that would love for you to share with them what your favorite poem or piece of work is that your grandmother wrote. But I'm curious, what is the first piece of your grandmother's work that you memorized that just became part of your heart? Can you think back to what the very first piece was?
Well, I'll tell you the story of the first book I read. The first book I had to read was obviously The Caged Bird. I know why The Caged Bird sings, but what's funny about that is that basically she asked me had I read it, and I was maybe 11 or 12 or something like that. She asked me had I read it, and basically I was, I felt bad that I hadn't read it. And we stopped that moment. She gave me the book, and I did nothing else for the rest of the summer until I finished that book. Um, I don't know the first piece that I memorized from her. I will say that her speech that she gave to the UN is probably one of the most powerful speeches that I have read of hers. It really speaks to, one, her understanding of the complicated issues at bay, but her urging for us to be better humans, and for us to follow our heart, our highest level of person. And that's really, it really embodies what she believes we can be, while not giving any room or quarter, right? For Brutus being a brute, being abusive to people. I really loved that piece of hers.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, as we are wrapping up the conversation, I have just a couple questions for you. But before I jump into those, I would love it if you would give our audience a challenge. What would you challenge them to do?
Probably read a book that they feel like they might disagree with, you know, first. There are lots of political books out there on either side. So it doesn't matter what side of the aisle or position they are on, but read a book that is the opposite view that you feel like you have on a topic, and really read the book. It's not about convincing yourself that you're wrong, or that that whatever else, but it's just exposing yourself to the ideas and what the other side is talking about, why they hold this position, and searching for understanding, because this human believes in this for some reason. Why? And that's what I would say is a good challenge.
I love that one. That is such a great challenge. For all of you that are watching and listening right now, you heard it directly from Colin. Definitely take him up on that challenge. As a matter of fact, I would love it for all of the listeners if you would share in the comments what is the book that you are committed to reading that has different views from your own. So share that with us. So, Colin, before I ask my final question to you, is there either a website or a link, a place that you would like to direct our audience to either learn more about some of the good work that you're doing, to learn more about your grandmother, to learn more about the DC Central Kitchen that you just mentioned to us? What link would you like to share with us?
Yeah. Well, first, you always look myangelo.com. That is where the most recent work is happening, updates on anything's happening in her name. DC Central Kitchen is a Jose Andreas's foundation, and they have one in LA as well. There might be another location as well, but he just does amazing work around food, feeding homeless people, and teaching people how to cook and the love of cooking, and giving them skills to live life. I just love his energy and way he approaches this world. If you listen to he guy's in Ukraine. The guy's giving food out all around the world, and he's just somebody I really respect his work heavily, and so I think he should be supported and lauded for that and applauded for that. So any support you want to give them. I'm not affiliated officially at all. I'm just a fan. That's it.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. So, Colin, here is my final question to you. What is one of the most difficult decisions that you've had to make in the pursuit of the person who you are today?
Moving on. I have being able to let go and move on and know you're going to be all right. It's been something that's been liberating for me. My life has changed multiple times. My name changed. Live with my mom, live with my dad. Being able to continue to move on and accept the things that have happened. The same year my grandmother died, my fiance died, and 6 months before our wedding. And not moving on in a casual way, but understanding that these things happen to us in life while we're living. And at the time, my business was exploding, and I was also in great things going on. And my fiance died 6 months before we were supposed to get married. So I think that it's not forgetting; it's just being able to move forward in life and take that next step. Is something that has benefited me. I didn't always know where I was going and what I was supposed to be doing, but just taking this next step, keeping in motion, staying forwardly mobile, allowed me to find my footing again and rebuild. And that has helped me in so many scenarios.
Wow, that's amazing. Colin, I want to thank you so very much for joining us today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. This has been an incredible conversation, and I so appreciate you speaking the truth, sharing the stories, being authentic, sharing so many great insights and lessons that you've learned, things that you've shared with us today. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a really great conversation. I really appreciate your thoughtful questions. I love to think about her and think about what her life has meant to me, and because it's been powerful, and I'm appreciative of her. So, and I appreciate you bringing me on to talk about her. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. And for all of you, thank you so very much for watching and listening. And I do have a favor to ask. Would you please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts? That would be wonderful and greatly appreciated. That helps us expand our reach and bring amazing guests just like Colin Johnson. And to listen to more episodes, all you need to do is visit jscherbusinessconsulting.com, hit that podcast button. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you on the next Business Minds Coffee Chat. Take care, everybody.